when you're doing keyword research, there's 3 general steps that you're going to follow. So first of all, you have to actually find the keywords, then you have to evaluate how difficult they are and determine whether they're worth pursuing, and then finally you have to actually plan out some content, and note that I say plan the content, not necessarily write it yourself. So we're going to go through these 3 steps in this tutorial, and even if you haven't done any keyword research before, or you're new to making a website, it's your first site, you don't have any content, you don't have very many links, you should be able to follow along with this tutorial relatively easily. So for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to use the term hair clippers. We're going to imagine we're some company, we either sell our own hair clippers, or maybe we are doing affiliate marketing for Jeff Bezos, and we're selling his hair clippers, or whatever. Doesn't really matter, we're trying to sell some hair clippers. So let's start off just by looking for the most basic term, buy hair clippers. So let's go ahead and check out the search result, and what we're going to find is this is actually going to be a relatively difficult keyword for you to rank page 1 on, since it's well, it's the most obvious keyword. But there are also a few signs on this page that we can see for why this is going to be relatively competitive. You can see there are a number of advertisements right up here, so there are people explicitly targeting this term with links directly to their product page. You can see there's a local page as well, probably for whatever region you personally are in, unless you happen to live in this town, in which case insert some kind of a joke here. So there's tons of different snippets on this page. There's advertisements, there's more snippets down here. These ones aren't paid. And then we can see these pages, we have people ranking with their home page, which is going to be one of the most authoritative pages on their site. So if people are ranking with their home page, there's ads everywhere, there's more products down here, there's more snippets down here, there's more ads. This is going to be a really hard term for you to rank for. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to find some variations on this term that aren't targeted so heavily. So since this is so obvious, everyone wants to rank for it. But if we segment our keyword down into something a little more specific, so rather than buy hair clippers, buy pink hair clippers in Detroit is going to be a lot more specific. Buy hair clippers for afros or something. There are 2 different sections on this page that are going to be particularly useful for finding keywords. So the first one is this one right here, people also ask, which is a list of things that people also ask. So it's populated from questions that are actually that have actually been asked before by other users who have used search engines at some point in their life. So we can see we have a number of questions here, and if we want more of them, we can open this and close this repeatedly, and it'll keep populating this with additional questions. So we're going to go ahead and grab these, and we'll get back to these in just a second. And I'm going to pull up this spreadsheet, which is no longer a guest post demo. And we'll put these in here. And if we want to remove this space, we can right-click, sort range, and it'll remove that for us. And these are people also ask keywords. And that shortcut is Control-D to drag that. The second place we can find some keywords pretty easily to start with on this page is down here in this searches related to section. So these are other searches that other people have put in similarly to the questions, the only difference being that these are, well, general searches rather than questions. And if we add these in here, and the second column here is just for our own reference, you don't actually need to write that part down. And then the final place we can get general seed keywords is just from this autocomplete section. So we have a number of different results up here that are also potential autocomplete keywords. So let's look through these and see what a few good potential keywords are. And the one that stands out to me as being pretty specific is this one about black hair. So presumably that's referring to black people and their hair. And there's 2 actually about this in here, and there's one up here as well. So the thing about these other keywords, so these ones down here, best is still going to be a relatively difficult keyword. You might be able to, this is pretty specific, this is a little more specific. Best hair clippers, best professional hair clippers 2018. Probably still doable, although the word best generally ends up being pretty competitive because it's a common adjective used to add to queries when people are trying to buy something. And this is still pretty generic, so there's probably a number of people still trying to target this. We can see there's still a number of ads up here, and there's still, yeah, there's a bunch of snippets. And this is definitely going to be easier. We're not seeing people rank with their home pages, but we are seeing a lot of people who are explicitly going after best professional hair clippers, professional hair clippers, professional trimmers. This one has the jump to links, which there's a different guide on this site on how to set those up for your site. So I'd say this one, these are probably too competitive. We'll move those down here. This is a keyword. You might target this, who invented hair clippers. You know, maybe if you're throwing out a lot of different posts. But the thing about this one is First of all, it's not really a buyer keyword, so people probably aren't trying to buy hair clippers. And the second is that, let's see if I'm correct here. You can see there's a featured snippet. So there's a good chance people are going to search for this, see this snippet. They got the answer to their question. They're just going to close this right away. And you're also getting like Wikipedia pages. So this is going to be actually relatively hard and also not a buyer keyword. So we'll put that down here as well. The rest of these terms, these two terms, they're both a brand. So what you're probably going to find is if you look up these brands, you'll probably get the official product pages, right? So we have the official page, the official page, the official pages ad, the Amazon page for that. We actually have several results from the same site. So this is going to be pretty difficult because it's the main keyword for that brand. These two are both going to be relatively competitive as well. We'll move those down here. This, even though it's a little more specific than just hair clippers, is certainly still very general, so I'd put that in the same category. This, similarly, they're looking for a particular brand. Even if you can rank page 1, it's going to be hard to get the click-through rate from people looking for hair clippers Walmart when they're looking explicitly for results from Walmart since they want to buy them from Walmart. These three right here, or these two right here, these are also going to be brand keywords, but what you can notice about these, the intent of the person searching, is they're likely looking for a review of these keywords rather than the official brand pages. So these are also definitely keywords that you could plausibly rank for. They might still be a little bit difficult. They seem like some of the bigger brands in the hair trimming space, but we've only got around 3 million results. There are a number of people trying to go after this keyword, so it looks like it would be fairly difficult to rank for, but it's certainly a doable keyword in the longer term. If you have a site that is going after hair clippers, this might be a page that you might make where you might not rank immediately, but over the next few months, you'll ideally rank for some of your easier keywords first, and then over time, your site might get enough authority to start ranking for this. So this one is probably going to be a little more competitive than this term, so let's actually check that out. And we can see there are 44 million results rather than only 3 million. And there's definitely a lot of people targeting this. This might be one of your bigger money keywords if you get particularly big in that niche. I wouldn't count on it as a very early on keyword for a new affiliate site, but you might still keep that one in mind. These keywords up here also kind of fall into the same category of best clippers for black hair, best trimmers for lineups. This is a little more general. Best for home use. Best for barbers. And these keywords up here are also all right. They're a little bit less specific, so they're a little bit less buyer-oriented. So you might be looking at keywords that are going to have more general traffic. It might not convert as much as a percent. They might be a little bit easier to rank for in some cases. I haven't really checked these ones out. So now we've taken those keywords that we found in the search result page, and that was just from one basic search. And we've segmented them into roughly 4 categories. So we have easy keywords, easy, buyer keywords. Now, notice that this column here, so easy buyer, medium buyer, hard buyer, this is not taking into account return on investment or the volume of traffic or anything else. We're just talking about the intent of the searcher, so whether or not it's something you're looking to buy on. And this one actually could be a buyer keyword potentially. Actually, any of these could these two could potentially be a buyer keyword. This one, I don't even know what they're fucking asking. Sort of potentially buyer keywords, not as buyer keyword-y as the other ones. But anyway, all we're talking about here is how hard they are to rank and whether or not, to what extent they are keywords that would be searched when looking to buy. Now, the important question you have to ask yourself is, well, what is the return on investment? How many people are actually searching for these things? You might have a buyer keyword, but it only gets 10 searches a year. That might not actually be very profitable. So the next thing we want to do is we want to figure out what the actual search volume is. Personally, my favorite tool to use for search volume is Ahrefs, and that is a paid tool, so I'm not going to bother showcasing that here since we're not using any paid tools for this tutorial. So what can we use instead? And the first thing that might come to mind is Google's Keyword Planner. Now, you can use Google's Keyword Planner, although I would personally rather buy a cheap handgun and put it in my fucking mouth than use Keyword Planner, and there's a few reasons for this. The first thing you want to note about Google's Keyword Planner is that it is a tool that is used or designed to be used with the AdWords platform, so the pay-per-click advertisements. And that's as opposed to the organic search or the non-AdWords search that we're targeting here. The thing about that is that, first of all, you have to go make an account with AdWords. I think you have to have a card on file with them, which is kind of a pain in the ass, but you could do it. And they also, as of, I don't know, several years ago, they started doing this thing where they throttle the keywords, and they'll say, like, this term has between, like, 100 and 1,000 searches, but that's not very helpful. I don't know what you mean by that. Is that 100 or is that 1,000? That's a pretty large range. So I don't find that tool particularly helpful. It's okay, it's better than nothing, but what we're going to use instead is we're going to use this random tool that I came across a while ago that is completely free called it's searchvolume.io. So let's pull this up here. And as far as I can tell, all this tool does is it accesses the AdWords data through their own API or whatever. And since they spend enough money with AdWords or something, they're able to actually access the search volumes directly. So we're just going to take all these, open this back up, paste the keywords in here, and we'll hit submit, and we can see we actually get this search volume data here, which we can just copy, and we're going to use Control-Shift-V to just paste this in here. And what you can see is some of these terms didn't even come back with any kind of result, so that would indicate they don't have any search volume. They might not have any search volume in air quotes, but actually have some search volume, or they have some variation with search volume where you'll still get traffic. It kind of depends, but they're not super important keywords. We have a more competitive term, and all these top four are actually all pretty competitive, but the one that I pointed out originally at the very start of this video is this one, best clippers for black hair, which you see has 260 monthly searches, which is not a bad search volume. All right, so we have a keyword that seems pretty promising. It has decent search volume, it's pretty specific, and it's also a buyer keyword. So let's go ahead and do a little bit more research on how hard this keyword is going to actually be. So we're going to go ahead and move on to step 2 of the process. So evaluating keyword difficulty and checking out the competitor sites in this niche. So let's start with this very top result, which is the snippet, and it's also the second result. And just by looking at the content, we can see this is actually pretty decent. It's formatted well, it's readable, it has a good list of products, it's fairly long, it's in coherent English, although it's not exactly a masterpiece in terms of the actual quality of content. It's certainly relevant and certainly usable content. If we click on these links or copy the image address, what we'll see is that there is an affiliate link in here. So this is definitely someone who is trying to get commissions from Jeff Bezos. So as discussed in the guest post guide, there are a few tools you can use that are completely free. There's Majestic, and there's also the Small SEO Tools tool that is duct taped into Moz's API. So let's start with, we want to check out both the domain and then also this specific page. So we want to see how good is their domain and also how much effort are they really putting into this particular page that they are trying or that they are ranking for. So let's start with the domain, since we can actually check a domain in Majestic, even though you can't check full URLs in Majestic without a subscription. And what we can see here is we see a few numbers. So we have trust flow, citation flow, number of external backlinks. We get a range for a number of referring domains. And at the bottom here, we also can see their general distribution of anchor texts. Now, what we notice here, so trust flow and citation flow are metrics from Majestic. And what they aim to do is the trust flow tries to evaluate the quality of backlinks. So how many real good backlinks does this site have? The domain, the entire domain. And then citation flow is what kind of volume of backlinks do they have? So for example, if you use a tool like GSA or XRUM or whatever to blast the shit out of a site, it's going to have a very high citation flow and a low trust flow. Whereas if you have 3 links or 30 links that are all amazing and they're all from super legit articles, your trust flow is generally going to be higher. So what we can infer very generally is that while these metrics can be exploited somewhat, Majestic isn't perfect, is that the site definitely does have some backlinks. We don't know what they are yet, but the site's not some completely new domain. A trust flow of 7 isn't particularly high, and what we can infer is that the site probably has some links, although it's probably not the most amazing site in the world. These scales, trust flow and citation flow, as well as most other sites' proprietary metrics, they're going to be logarithmic, so every additional point is going to be increasingly harder to get. So Going from 0 to 10 is generally pretty easy, then 10 to 20 a little harder, 20 to 30 even harder, and then going from like 90 to 100 is a massive endeavor where you're really looking at the very top echelons of sites. So this is a pretty basic site, but it might have some decent links for this very specific niche. So let's try to figure out what these links actually are. We're going to use the Small SEO Tools backlink checker, which is probably just duct taped into Moz. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. So we're going to open this backlink checker, and we're going to check out we're going to check out the domain, and then we're also going to check out this particular specific page. So we'll do both of these. And you want to make sure that you're using the HTTPS version if they are HTTPS and not the other way around, because those are technically separate pages, so you want their official canonical page. So if they had www, you would want https://www. So make sure those line up so you get the most accurate results. So we have two tabs open here. One of them is the domain, and then one of them is the particular page. So what we actually notice here, looking at the query for this specific page, and this was again the top result and the featured snippet for whatever the hell our term is, by black people haircutting, or what the fuck is our term? It's like best clippers for black hair. Jesus Christ. So we have the actual page, and the actual page isn't showing any backlinks in Small SEO Tools. I did cheat off screen and check this in Ahrefs. I think they have one backlink, but whatever. So there's not really anything pointed at the particular page. So that's kind of a good sign, because that means that they're basically ranking this page just through their site alone. So even the top result isn't really try-harding to try to rank this. They are ranking purely because their domain is relevant and the article was halfway decent. So if you were to write an article and then also point some links at it, or do some outreach, get some guest posts, whatever, you could likely get your page to have a decent amount of authority and potentially rank at least page 1, or ideally overtake the site and be result number 1. So let's check out the links pointing to the domain to see how well that domain is doing. So we got a bunch of numbers here, but don't worry about those too much. We're going to start with this top one here and just check this out and see what this looks like. So this is theoretically the top link pointed at this domain. Now this site looks a little shitty, but let's see if we can find where the actual link is. What is the site called? Get a Razor. Oh, it is called Get a Razor. So we can open up the console, and then we want to actually search through the source and Get a Razor. So we could have just Control F, but sometimes the anchor isn't the same as the URL, so it's a little hard to find. But we have this right here. What is this site we're on? We can see they don't even bother to put a tint behind this. The style sheet's a little bit thin. It looks like this is probably even a real person's blog, maybe 50-50. But what it looks like is probably these are a bunch of paid links. Best websites to read. Yeah, I'm sure that this guy in his free time reads this guy's fucking shitty affiliate blog. That's definitely a thing. You might read this. I don't know. Maybe there's a site. But it looks like these are mostly sites that are just like shitty affiliate sites where they paid this guy some money to list all their shitty affiliate sites for a link. But it might not be a bad link in terms of authority, so it's not too bad of a link. Let's check out the rest of these. Their second highest link looks like kind of a shitty automated check website price tool. So that's not too amazing. Another keyword suggest tool. So you'll see these like keyword suggest or like website analysis links pop up just by having a website for long enough. So they're not really super authoritative links or really super impressive links or hard to get links. Another one down here looks like another sort of mommy blog or daddy blog, I guess. Or this one's a mommy blog. I received this product for my review. So this is probably, I'm guessing this is either, I don't think it's a PBN. I think they probably, yeah, it looks like probably they either paid this person to put this extra link down at the bottom, or maybe it's owned by the same person. But it seems most plausible what they're doing is, most of these links look like they're shitty, just like domain lists, but they went around to a few like mommy blogs or daddy blogs, is that a fucking term? And paid them like, I don't know, $50 or whatever to throw some links in there. So it might have some authority, but it looks like they're not really super try-harding with these links. It's possible they have like a hidden PBN where they blocked crawlers, although I don't think they probably did based on my impression of the site in general. It's possible, but it looks like this site is not the most authoritative in the world, although it's not halfway bad. Now, what you'd probably also want to do if you are trying to rank for this term is check out a few of the other pages on here. So let's just check this one out. I mean, this one's not even about black people haircutters, so that's also a good sign if you see people are ranking for your term that aren't even explicitly targeting it. That generally means there's not that many people going after that keyword. So most of these are about black people hair. But yeah, you get to like page 2, there's fewer and fewer about black hair. There's still some. But there aren't really that many explicitly targeting haircutters for black people. So that's a good sign as well. Anyway, what you'd probably want to do is check out a few more of these and just see if there's anything that you're missing there. And look at this particular page. This one actually does have a fair amount of links pointed at the specific article. And it's also from the same site, which is interesting. Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, this is an automated link, so it is pointed at this page, but they didn't build this. It's just popped up. Same with this. Same with this. These are all just garbage. This is an actual thing. This is definitely, yeah, this is the link, and this is probably either a guest post or a PBN. It's probably a guest post. It looks like a guest post. There's a privacy error, which we're going to ignore. Privacy errors are the dumbest thing in the world because most of these sites don't really need an SSL cert. Like, technically, but it's kind of a tangent. And, yeah, there's another thing. So like, really, this site doesn't have anything too amazing in terms of backlinks either. Maybe 1 or 2 guest posts. So what it's looking like is if you have a reasonably solid domain in general, you know, over time you can build that up if you don't already have one, then, you know, a few posts or a few guest posts or whatever to your black people haircutting article, you could definitely get this site up onto the first page. This competition definitely does look beatable. You can certainly get up onto the first page with a few halfway decent links, some outreach or whatever. If you wanted to do some more competitor analysis, you could also potentially use something like Ahrefs to look into the sites in a little more depth and so on, see what particular kinds of links people are getting. You could check out more sites. But for the sake of this tutorial, we have a pretty good idea of roughly how hard the competition is going to be in that. All in all, I'd put this keyword somewhere in the, maybe not quite extremely easy, but I'd say it's reasonably easy, maybe low, medium tier difficulty. And it's also a buyer keyword, so this is definitely a good keyword for you to target if you're starting a new site. Okay, so we're pretty confident in this keyword, and what we want to do now is move on to the third step of this project. So we want to actually plan out an article, so this is going to contain a few different steps. So the first thing we want to do is we want to figure out a few different variations on this keyword, or very similar keywords that we can also target with the same page. And there are a few different ways that we can do this. So one of the most basic ways is we can take this keyword and we can just go search for this again. And similarly to what we did originally, we can also look at now using this specific keyword rather than something more general. So we can see maybe there's something in this section that is related to black people or black people hair, although it looks like I'm not really seeing anything too specific in here. We can also go down here and see we definitely get some better, more relevant results from this searches related to section. So we're going to grab these, and we'll remove everything that is not related to our specific keyword, so all those other ones are now removed. Now, one other trick that we can use is there is a tool called Keyword Shitter, which I've mentioned on this site once or twice before. And if we put in a seed keyword, what this will basically do is essentially it will automate this process we're already doing of going through of essentially scraping these searches related to keywords from search results. So if we run this for a while, and you can see this is pretty specific. It's taking a little while to actually find keywords. If you put something more general into here, it will take, or it'll shit out, literally, figuratively, whatever. It'll produce many keywords very rapidly. And these all look pretty relevant. They're all actually about black something. Black hair, various kinds of hair. So we'll call this good enough for now. We'll take these, put them back in here, and now we have a good solid list And if we want to remove duplicates, for example, if you were pulling from a lot of different sources, there is this unique function where if you put this full range in here, you can see there were a few duplicates that are now removed. So we'll copy this, use Control-Shift-V to just paste the raw text. So we're actually getting the raw output now rather than the function. And what we want to do now is we're going to take all these terms, take everything, and we're going to go back to that tool we used before, whatever the hell it was called. We'll paste this in, and we're going to submit this and see what we actually turn up. And if we grab these, we can paste this in here, and we'll go ahead and sort this range under Sort Range, and we want to sort by the column B, and we want it to be descending. And what you see is we have, what, like 9 keywords. We have our main keyword, then we have a few other variations that have some search volume, and between those, so we have 260 for our main, and then we have another 180 combined for these other variations. And it's important to note that these numbers are not exactly the gospel, so like if someone searched for like, I don't know, best profession, like they spelled it wrong or something, that could still be additional search volume. I don't know what the exact statistic is offhand, but it's something like, I don't know, 30% or whatever amount of searches are just completely new things that aren't, that have never been searched before. And obviously things still rank for that. So you can still get traffic from things that are going to say that they don't actually get a new search volume. And other variations on that. Like there are pages on 256 kilobytes where if you run them through like Ahrefs or whatever, they'll say like, this has 0 keywords that it ranks for. It's like, well, why is it getting, according to our analytics, why would it be getting several hundred views every day from search engines if it has 0 keywords that it ranks for? That's obviously not true. So take these numbers with a grain of salt and remember that there are other variations. And that there are sometimes keywords where they will say they have like no search volume in keyword research tools, but they actually do have search volume. Now we have 9 keywords that we're going to target with this article. So there is a more in-depth guide to on-page SEO, which you can also look at. It's this one right here. It's you can see the URL. I'll post the URL below this video as well. So on-page SEO is kind of a separate topic, not entirely, but the first thing we want to do, or what we're going to do in this tutorial, is we're going to plan out the keywords, and then we'll talk about on-page optimization a little bit more in a follow-up video and also this article. So check this out as well if you haven't already. Now, the one concept, or the main concept from that article that I just had up is, or that we're going to use here, is that we want to segment our keywords roughly when you're planning out an article into generally 3 different categories. So there's your main keyword. The biggest thing that you're targeting is the kind of thing you're going to want to put in your URL, your title. It's going to be the biggest thing you're targeting. Then you're going to have important keywords. So these are things that might be the main section headings or in main section headings. And you might have like 3 to 4 of these. It depends on how long the article is. Some articles you might be able to have more. Some you might not have any. It kind of depends. Sometimes people will say hard and fast rules about how much content you should have in an article. Usually they'll say, oh, 500 words or somewhere between 500 and 2,000 words usually is what people say. That's kind of bullshit. Like, don't obsess too much over that. That range is probably fine, but more content isn't necessarily better. Sometimes you just want like a short article for one keyword and there's not really that much else to say. For this article, what I'd probably go with is maybe like 1,000 words, or check out what the competitors have and probably do something around that. Now, as you may have seen in that article, if you've read it, the general strategy to organizing keywords in an article, which we're going to do here while planning out our keywords, is that you want to have a main keyword. So that's the kind of thing you're going to target with the title of your article, the URL of your article, really the biggest thing you're trying to rank for. It's often going to be the hardest keyword in that set, or the keyword with the most search volume. Then you're going to have a few important keywords, so pretty big keywords that have a fair amount of search volume, generally less than the main keyword, and those are going to either be your section headings or similar. And then some supplementary keywords, generally very long terms that are going to be mixed in through the paragraphs of your article. So that way you have a lot of effort put on your important keywords and then less effort put on your increasingly less important keywords. So you mix all that information in there, and if you want to use some guru terms, what are these? LSI keywords, I suppose. And so you're mixing that all up into one coherent article where you're targeting the main keyword and then some supporting stuff as well. Now we have a decent start here, although we can probably dig up a few more keywords to use for this list. One thing you might do if you do have a subscription to Ahrefs or some other similar tool that will actually show the keywords, I don't even know what else would be, maybe SEMrush. Now we have a decent start here to a list of keywords, although we can probably dig up a few more. One thing you can do if you do have an Ahrefs subscription is you can put some of the pages that show up for this term into Ahrefs and just look at what keywords they rank for, and you'll find large lists of keywords that you can pull from. We're not going to use that here, so one thing we can also try is let's just manually adjust this and find, let's say, instead of Black, African American, and then let's try, what if I could spell? And we'll try one other variation, best trimmers, and then we'll try best trimmers for black hair. And let's get some more keywords and see what shows up. Alright, this has been running for about 4 minutes or so, so we're going to grab these, shove them in here, and we'll go back to searchvolume.io, submit all 25, and we get another list of keywords with a few more that actually have some search volume. Delete this, and you can see now we have 11 keywords instead of 9, so we picked up an extra 3 or 8. Or 9, yeah, 9, I can count. So we picked up an extra 2 keywords. So we have our 11 keywords here. You could probably dig up some more, again, through either competitor research, through Ahrefs or whatever, or just going through getting more of the searches related to keywords and putting those into Keyword Shitter, or just grabbing them yourself, running them through the keyword search volume tool, and so on. Repeating the various methods we already did in this video. But for the sake of this article, these 12 keywords should be plenty of keywords for us to target. At this point, we're done with all the keyword research for this article. Generally, when you talk about SEO, you'd segment that into keyword research and then the actual on-page SEO and the article writing, which is a separate topic. So what we're going to go ahead and do here is we're going to end this video, and then we're going to do a separate video on on-page SEO, and we're going to discuss how we can actually turn these keywords about the best hair clippers for black people into an actual article that will rank for these terms. And one last thing we are going to do is we are going to save these long tails, and we're just going to put these down here so that we have a list of all these potential other phrasings, even if they don't all have search volume. Alright, that's the end of this video. Get the fuck out unless you are going to watch the next video, which you should also do, in which case find that thread and you can also watch that video. And we are actually going to do one last thing here, just for reference. If you do have a Ahrefs subscription, what we can do is take some of these pages and we can grab them here, and what you can do to actually grab the keywords that these other pages are ranking for, we can go to the Site Explorer and you'll see various things, and you can also see number of backlinks. And again, this is another one of the results we didn't do previously, but you can see Ahrefs also not picking up too many links directly to this page. So again, a few targeted posts are certainly going to be enough to propel you onto the first page, provided that your domain's also doing all right. But we can actually see this list of organic keywords that they're ranking for, and what we see is a number of other variations that you might use in this post. How to cut black boy hair with clippers. And you can see they have various search volumes. Although you might also want to note, this volume algorithm, they use multiple sources of data that are different from, although I think they also pull from Keyword Planner, Google's Keyword Planner, but they also use things like clickstream data, so like apps that they buy various data from. So you might see different numbers between the two of these. So you can see there's actually a lot of other variations that we didn't grab just through those other techniques that we did that you could also use if you were targeting these keywords.